As you probably noticed, I'm in a new place now. Alright, I'm gonna get some tea. Now that I've got some tea, let's spill it. No, let's not spill any tea actually, I've got a lot of electronics here. No, let's demystify Bella Goth's disappearance because there are a lot of theories about it on the internet and unfortunately, a lot of them are incorrect. And for some reason, proving people wrong on the internet is my new favorite hobby, so naturally I had to record a video about this, right? I remember it like yesterday, the first time playing The Sims. Bella Goth came into my house, ate my food, complained about the TV, and clogged my toilet. And at that moment, she instantly became my favorite Sim of all time. I'd always make myself in The Sims looking like this, and then I'd befriend Bella Goth pretending I'm her like twin sister or something. But then in The Sims 2, she was gone. And I was very unhappy about that. I discovered the infinite possibilities of testing cheats pretty much immediately, and then I tried to bring her back, and it wouldn't work because she'd disappear. I'm sure a 10-year-old April would be delighted to know that I finally solved the mystery of Bella Goth's disappearance. Well, from the technical point of view at least. A quick disclaimer, this video is not going to cover any lore. Meaning that we're not going to be examining the storytelling reason behind why Bella has disappeared. There's 1,000 videos about this already, so many people have done it better than I ever could. No, this analysis is going to be purely technical. And I am aware that Margico has done a technical analysis on Bella Goth already, and go watch that video if you haven't yet. But my video is going to be a little bit different because I'm going to be focusing solely on the disappearance aspect. Today we're going to be examining what it is that the devs did that makes Bella missing, and how can you do the same thing to any sim in your game. So I'm gonna get myself abducted. For science, of course. But it's all good, I'm a knowledge sim, therefore getting abducted by aliens is my biggest dream apparently. But before I start staring into the night sky and definitely not spying on my neighbors, let's just clarify some common misconceptions about Bella Goth, just to get this out of the way. First of all, Bella Goth hasn't been soft deleted. As in, she hasn't been deleted from the sim bin using the bin icon. There have been some people speculating that this might be the case under my corruption deep dive video, and actually this is what inspired me to record this video in the first place, because that is a very valid speculation, and to be honest, that's what I would have done if I was a dev on the Sims 2 team, but this is not what the devs actually did. Soft deleted Sims are completely and permanently inaccessible during gameplay. And that's because their 3D data gets deleted in the process, so the game has nothing to render. This is why you can't just bring the deleted Sims back using the Tombstone of Life and Death. Interestingly enough, the option to spawn those Sims would still appear on the tombstone in earlier versions of the game, but you would see the hit breakpoint primitive error when trying to add them. Which, by the way, serves as another proof that in-game deletion is perfectly safe and well thought out. This error is being intentionally thrown inside of the code. It's a controlled failure, so to speak. It's to prevent the game from crashing if something tries to access the data of a deleted sim. Like when the Sims get soft deleted due to a glitch, but they're still present on the lot. Or, for example, if they forget to filter deleted Sims out of a certain interaction, like in this case. This oversight has been later patched out. Now the deleted Sims are being filtered out. The only way you can spawn a Sim who has been deleted from the bin is when you copy the missing 3D data from another character file. I demonstrated this with Vidkund in the deep dive. Bella absolutely can be spawned on the lot in Vanilla Pleasant View without any modifications. This is how we know she hasn't been soft deleted. So, is Bella Goth dead? No, not really. She has the I am dead token, which is an invisible token that all dead Sims have, But having this token is not the same as being dead. That's why Bella doesn't appear grayed out in the family tree. So what makes the game decide whether a sim is dead or not? The is ghost flag in the sim description. It's literally as simple as that. If the sim is a ghost, then, well, it's pretty safe to assume that they're dead. Pleasant View Bella has this flag unchecked. If you tick this box in SimPE, she will appear grayed out and you won't be able to make her playable at all, as you will instantly get the Bella has died on another lot message. If you untick it, she'll be considered alive again. So, what does the I am dead token actually do? It marks the sim as someone who should be dead. Let me explain. When you load a lot, the game performs a series of checks on all sims that are present. Like a whole bunch of checks. For example, it's recalculating their wants, resetting their motives, spawning them in the right place, it's even checking whether they're a supernatural creature, and it also looks inside their inventory. And yes, memories and tokens are also considered inventory, but I'll get to that. If it finds an item with this GUID in the sim's inventory, which is the I am dead token, then it assumes that this sim should be dead and runs the reinit ghost function. That function sets the is ghost flag to true if it's not true already, and then it tells the load function to boot the sim out of the lot because they're dead. So I do realize that this is a lot to take in, right? But the gist of it is that any sim who has this token will die, if not dead already, and disappear. Since the function that looks for this token is only fired off during loading of the residential lot, most players will only see the effect of it when they save the game and come back to that household during the next play session. Okay, so we now know what this token does. Why the hell does it even exist if we have the is ghost flag? Well, as I've said, every single sim in The Sims 2 that dies receives the I am dead token. Under normal circumstances, it's the Grim Reaper who gives that to dead sims, and he also sets the is ghost flag to true, but these two actions are triggered by two separate functions. They are both being called during the long chain of events that happens when the Grim Reaper is doing his thing. I'm guessing, and keep in mind this is just my speculation, that the purpose of this token is to ensure that the sim dies, even if the soul reaping function did not complete for whatever reason, say if an error happened halfway through the Grim Reaper animation. That way the poor sim cannot avoid their fate. Now, let me make this absolutely clear. The I am dead token is perfectly normal and safe game mechanic. It does not corrupt your game. And that includes any tokens you give to your sims using testing cheats. You might see some people online claiming that giving your sims this token causes corruption, but trust me, it does not. There is no way it could. You could give that token to everybody in your neighborhood and nothing bad would have happened. Well, other than everybody would be dead, of course. I feel bad for calling out the Sims Wiki again, but in their article about the I am dead token, they have a section called Sims with Problematic Death Tokens, and Bella is mentioned right there at the top. I don't see how Bella's death token is problematic, it's just a regular token in my opinion, but let's read what they say here. When brought back, Bella has no memories or personality points. This has nothing to do with the death token, by the way, it's a sim description issue, but let's carry on. Bella fades away and becomes permanently stuck in whatever household she appears in. However, she won't be permanently stuck if her ghost fades away before the game is saved. So, I'm not saying it's not true, but I've never managed to replicate this, as in she never became permanently stuck for me. And I tried this in many different configurations, including an unpatched base game. But this information must have come from somewhere, right? So maybe it happened in a very specific version of the game, or maybe there is some other step that I'm missing. But for now, my conclusion is that for most people this is not going to be a problem, and Pleasant View Bella can be safely tampered with. Also, a few people have noticed that they couldn't resurrect Bella after she faded and fully died, even if she died from a different reason than just having the death token, like fire or starvation. For example, this video by Tannic Sims 2.
Back in the day, a common in-game method to bring Bella back was to spawn her this way, kill her off properly, then resurrect her normally. Though I tried this and she didn't get a grave, so it didn't work.
There is a reason why you cannot resurrect Bella Goth, but it has nothing to do with the I am dead token. I'll talk about this a little bit later, but I will give you a hint now. It's the same reason why Brandy Broke's pregnancy is all messed up. Okay, I'm gonna go off on a tangent now, but when the hell am I gonna talk about this again? You know how Caliban Capp has a physical death token in his inventory? So I was a bit confused about this since inventories were added in the Nightlife expansion, and obviously Veronaville is from the base game. I poked around a little bit in SimPE and discovered something weird. All of the pre-made Veronaville dead sims have duplicate death tokens for some reason. If you compare the two, their data looks a little bit different, so clearly the devs changed the way this token works sometime during development and didn't remove the duplicates from the Veronaville sims. Anyway, for most Veronaville pre-made ancestors, their death tokens are both marked as invisible. Except for this guy. He has the visible flag checked for one of his death tokens, which is not supposed to happen. That must have been some early bug. What does that have to do with inventory? Well, you see, memories, tokens, and inventory items are stored in the same bloody table in your neighborhood.package. I'm not joking, all three of those are considered inventory by the game. So how the hell doesn't the game get confused about where to display those? Well, first of all, it does, sometimes, but it uses the following information to figure it out: type and whether it's visible or not. To quote Suitable Dragonfly, who explained this perfectly, sim inventory objects are classified as either visible or non-visible, and as memory or non-memory. Visible memory are memories, visible non-memory are inventory items, non-visible memory is gossip, and non-visible non-memory are tokens. Here's a handy little diagram to wrap your head around that. So, with Caliban Capp's death token, the game's like, it's not a memory, it's an object, and it's visible, therefore off to the inventory it goes. Makes perfect sense. You can grab it and place it on a lot and everything. By the way, if you uncheck the visible flag, it will function just like a normal death token, so if you already resurrected him, you'd have to remove it, otherwise it's gonna fade away. Since there are so many myths about The Sims 2 Bella Goth, naturally corruption had to be one of them, right? So this is going to be a quick one. No, playing as Bella Goth does not cause corruption. Neither Pleasantview Bella nor Strangetown Bella cause any harm to your game. As for Strangetown Bella, you can even move her over to Pleasantview if you really want to, since we've discussed in the deep dive that moving sims between neighborhoods is fine, as long as they don't have big families or lots of memories about other people. She just won't be recognized by anybody in her family because, well, she's a completely different sim. And yes, I am aware that Strangetown Bella has some dodgy relationships to universal NPCs, right? But whilst I'm still investigating the topic of game corruption, I can tell you right now that having relationships, as in sim relation records with universal NPCs, does not modify your objects.package. So you're in the clear, even if you say yes to that stupid pop-up that everybody's always freaking out about. Okay, so now let's get back to Bella's disappearance. Obviously, when you first load up Pleasantview, the fact that Bella Goth went missing is explained in the neighborhood storytelling, and when you load up the Goth household, you can see for yourself that she's indeed not there, but is referenced in other places. Let's analyze what are the observable symptoms of her disappearance. From the player's perspective, Bella Goth is missing because she's considered alive, no one can call her, she does not spawn on community lots and she cannot be a passerby, she does not appear on anyone's relationship panel, despite sim relation records existing and being reciprocated. And yes, she also has no personality and no memories, right? But that is not related to her being missing. It's most likely an oversight by developers, as she has all other stats. I mean, she even has some skills, right? It's not like her sim description is completely wiped like Nat Futas. So we won't be focusing on that. Okay, so how on earth did they achieve all of this? Let's have a look at her sim description to see if there's anything different about her, anything that makes her stand out from playable sims. And there is. 3 things actually. She's in the default household, she is unlinked, and she has the dreaded I am dead token. Which one of these things made her go missing? Is it all 3 in conjunction? Or is there something else? Well, there's only one way to find out. Getting abducted by aliens is not necessary for the entire process, that was just added in for storytelling purposes, but hey, it's fun, so let's do it anyway. After all, we want to be faithful to the source material in our little remake, right? So I was ready to get abducted, but there was one tiny problem. Part of being missing Bella Goth style is having a non-grayed out portrait in the family tree. But since I'm a single lady with cats and my family tree looks like this, that's not gonna work, is it? So I needed to marry someone. Who's gonna be the perfect candidate? It's my soulmate, Vidkun Curious, of course. Come on over, Vidkun. Since me and Vidkun share an aspiration and have decent chemistry, our first date went really well. And by that I mean, we stood on the pavement the entire time, I spammed romantic interactions like it was fall in love and get married speedrun any percent, and then he fucked off cause he needed to pee, but hey, dream date apparently. Thanks for the flowers, I'll sell them for money. Speaking of money, this crappy Veronaville starter house won't do. I need a proper goth mansion for that. And I couldn't afford any mansion at the time, so, well, let's just say that my father gave me a small loan of $1 million. In the meantime, I invited Vidkun over and proposed to him right then and there on the stairs. He said yes. He must have known that he's in my game, and if he said no, the consequences would be dire. Or maybe he really loved me, who knows. But it was time to move to a better place. Alright, that's what I'm talking about. Time to throw the wedding party. Everything was ready, the guest had arrived. I don't know why the party score turned to real dud for a second. Someone must have been fighting off screen. We got married, everyone had fun, we had some unexpected guests. Got married to April, a rich sim, eh? It's true that love is all you need, but a rich spouse makes marriage easier to handle. Sure, Vidkun, whatever you say. Apparently I had a different assessment of the situation because the very next morning I was already dying to get off this planet. Time to meet aliens. It really helps that I'm a knowledge sim. Apparently you need 500 IQ to figure out that putting a flashlight through a telescope will make the aliens appear within the next 10 minutes.
I'm a hell of a dad.
Vidkun wasn't even too bothered, he just decided to take out the trash. Hang on, if you're gonna be my husband, I need to give you a makeover because that haircut is unacceptable. That's much better. Meanwhile, I was off in space. Vidkun wandered around the house aimlessly, thinking about me whilst eating his morning cereal. And then, finally, I returned. I love how Vidkun is just like, okay. Wait, what? Oh my god, I forgot I got this stupid mod. Well, I guess I'm pregnant now. Why are they both cheering? And she already wants to get abducted for a second time. Settle down, April. Mission successful. Time to make you disappear. My plan was to check those 3 factors I've mentioned before, one by one, separately, and see what effects they have on a playable sim, before I fully replicate Bella Goth's settings. Let's try the Unlinked flag first. What does Unlinked actually mean? I've never managed to find a proper definition of this term online, so this is just me going off of what I've observed in my game and in SimPE. But I think this means that their sim description entry is no longer linked to their 3D data in the character file. In other words, this is a way of marking the sim as technically deleted. I say technically because at first glance, marking the sim as unlinked in their sim description doesn't really change anything. The sim is still playable. They can be called on the phone and invited over. They can spawn on community lots. However, the game is using the Unlinked flag to filter sims out of certain interactions, because during normal gameplay, only soft deleted sims will ever get the Unlinked flag set to true. This is why it's safe for the game to assume that an unlinked sim has no appearance data and probably shouldn't be spawned. This has some interesting consequences. One of the biggest ones is the inability to get resurrected. Have you ever wondered why certain pre-made sims cannot be resurrected even though they have complete character data? Yep, this is why. So if your Bella Goth dies due to a death token, you won't be able to resurrect her unless you set the Unlinked flag to false. I've done a small experiment with myself, which included me dying, and yep, I was unable to get resurrected until I relinked myself back again. The second one is pregnancy. It actually worked out really well that I had this female alien pregnancy mod, because I could easily show you what happens. Unlinked sims cannot give genes for pregnancy, even though the deleted sims still have DNA. This means that if one of the parents is unlinked, the baby will always be a clone of the other parent, just the opposite gender. Does that sound familiar to you? Yep, Skip Broke is unlinked in Vanilla Pleasant View. This is the entire problem with Brandy's pregnancy. In my case, the baby was always a girl, no matter how many times I tried, because I was unlinked and Pollination Technician is a male. And, well, if you ever wondered how he would look as a female, now you know. Setting the Unlinked flag back to false resulted in normal pregnancy. The baby could be a boy, and it was a genetic mix of both me and the alien. And what happens if both parents are unlinked? Because of course I checked. I thought the game would crash or something, but no. In case of both parents being unlinked, the game does the gene mixing correctly using both parents. So, one unlinked parent is unacceptable, but 2 are fair game. A bit weird, but okay. However, in many cases the game does not seem to use the Unlinked flag for filtering deleted sims out, as there are other ways of checking whether the sim has been deleted. That information is also in their character file, for example, and actually this is a much more reliable way of checking this. So, Unlinked is the game's isDeleted equivalent, but the usage of it throughout the game's code is very inconsistent. As for Bella Goth, her being unlinked doesn't really contribute that much to her disappearance. The only thing it really does is it prevents her from being resurrected, but that didn't really matter in the base game, right? And say if you bring her back and let her have a baby with Mortimer, that baby will always be a girl and will have none of her genetics. But that's not what makes her missing in game, so let's move on. So now the infamous I am dead token. It is commonly thought that this token is the reason why Bella is inaccessible during normal gameplay, as in she doesn't appear on community lots, cannot be called, etc. But it's not. The situation with Bella Goth's death token is a bit bizarre. It plays a very minuscule role in the whole disappearing process, and I'm still not entirely sure why they gave it to her, but I do have my suspicions.
So, what happens when you give that token to a playable sim? Well, unless you reload the residential lot they're currently on, absolutely nothing. They still appear in the relationship panel. They still spawn on community lots. They can be asked out on a date. They can be brought home as friends from work. You can even invite those sims over with a different family and they still won't die. Well, not unless you save and reload the lot whilst they're on it. If the sim dies because of a dead token, they do not leave a gravestone behind. They are considered dead from starvation. You can tell that from the ghost color. Other sims do get a memory of their death. Also, they are perfectly resurrectable despite not having a tombstone. Yes, you can resurrect those sims even if you don't have the no unlink on delete mod, because the on delete function, which causes reducing the sim's character file to a stub, is only being called when the tombstone is actually deleted. It's not called if the game didn't spawn one in the first place. I have tested that.
However, as I said, other than killing the sim on loading of the residential lot, the death token doesn't really do anything. So if Bella Goth only had that, she wouldn't be missing, she would still be seen out and about. Why did they give it to her then? Well, honestly, I think it's to prevent players from making her playable via cheats. Resurrection was not a thing before university, and Resurrectonometron is the only way you can remove a death token in-game. Otherwise, you need SimPE for that. So it was a pretty good way to stop simmers from playing as Bella. The fact that Bella has this token alone makes me quite confident that she was not meant to be played. Which makes me wonder, why didn't they just soft delete her? Maybe they wanted to leave her accessible as an Easter egg. Maybe they wanted the players to figure out how to restore her by modifying the neighborhood files. I don't know, we can only guess.
Now we're talking. The default household is arguably the most important component of Bella Goth's disappearance. But before my forcible removal out of my fancy-ass mansion, let's discuss what the default household is. The name is actually quite self-explanatory. Every household has its own record in the family information table in your neighborhood package. Any sims who don't have a household assigned end up in the default household. In practice, this means universal NPCs, dead sims, and deleted sims. Not townies and regular NPCs though, they have their own special households.
The default household not only serves as a spot for those poor homeless sims to go, but also it has some special rules. For example, the entire default household is banned from appearing on community lots. Don't believe me? Here's the proof.
This is the function responsible for populating community lots. It is excluding the household number 0 from the pool of eligible sims, and 0 is the default household. That makes sense, right? Otherwise you'd have a bunch of object NPCs and ghosts roaming about your neighborhood. Another thing, have you ever tried using the NPC and Townie Maker? This is an object you can spawn using testing cheats, much like the Tombstone of Life and Death. You can use it to create townies and NPCs to populate your neighborhood. So you've probably noticed that every time you spawn a new townie, you have an option to either keep or kill them. What does kill do? Does it actually kill them? Does it delete them? No, they just put in the default household. That's literally it. They're not even unlinked. I have a few teenager townies that I've killed like that while setting up my custom hood, and 6 generations later I can definitely confirm that they don't appear anywhere and are never brought as a friend from school. They're just stuck in limbo. The conclusion is, the default household is a great way to hide a sim from view. So that's why Bella Goth cannot be seen anywhere in Pleasant View. Not on community lots, not as a passerby, not as a blind date. Now let's put me in the default household, shall we? The very first thing that I've noticed was that Vidkun couldn't call me anymore. He couldn't invite me on a date either. And indeed, I did not spawn on any community lots, but I wasn't surprised since I already confirmed that in the game's code. So I was basically missing, nowhere to be found other than with cheats. There was still one problem though. I'd still appear on Vidkun's relationship panel even whilst being in the default household. In fact, neither of these three things have affected the relationship panel in any way.
We'll talk about the relationships in a minute, but for now, let's conclude that it's being in the default household that does the heavy lifting in Bella Goth's disappearance. This is the reason why she cannot be seen anywhere. Being unlinked and having a death token are only minor additions. If you put any sim in the default household, they will be missing in a similar manner, and you will never see them anywhere in game unless you spawn them with cheats.
But hang on a minute. Do you know who else is in the default household? Strangetown Bella Goth. That's exactly right. She was also placed in the default household. She is not really a townie. And despite that, she can be seen out and about like a townie.
But the entire default household is banned from appearing on community lots, so how could this be? Why is she the only exception to this rule? Okay, so for those of you who haven't played The Sims 2 in pre-made neighborhoods that much and don't know what I'm on about, there is a sim called Bella Goth, which looks very similar to the real Bella Goth, and she can be seen in Strangetown. You can meet her on community lots, she can visit your businesses, she can be your blind date, etc. So, the idea is that the aliens have abducted Bella in Pleasantview and dropped her off in Strangetown. However, as you can imagine, since Pleasantview and Strangetown are two separate neighborhoods, these are two completely different sims with two different character files. They even have slightly different faces. So, with that out of the way,
when you look up Strangetown Bella's article on the Sims Wiki, it says, when viewed in SimPE, Bella is placed in the default bin, a collection of deceased Sims and universal NPCs, such as the Grim Reaper, and not the townie bin. So that's exactly right. Here it is, Bella Goth in my Strangetown, right in the default household. She has no death token and is not unlinked, by the way, just in the default household, same as Pleasantview Bella.
So technically she should also be hidden. But Strangetown Bella can definitely be seen on community lots. Lots of people have seen her in their game, I have seen her in my game, and just for the record, I've never downloaded the clean versions of pre-made neighborhoods. And I know of at least 2 YouTubers who didn't play on the clean version either, and yet Bella has appeared there. Exhibit A.
I didn't think it'd happen this fast. Bella, call the cops. Give her a gift, perhaps? Oh my god, should we give her beyond belief? Like, hey, have you heard this story about people being abducted by aliens? She doesn't want it. Maybe it hits too close to home. Potential possibility.
Exhibit B.
He gets no peace. This is so cruel. Honestly, I'm thinking this timeline, this is all in Call Me Kevin's head. None of this is happening. He's just succumbed to the madness.
So, what the hell? I decided that it's time to consult Reddit because I couldn't figure it out on my own. I've detailed all of my findings and I've got lots of replies. People were genuinely helpful and we had some nice brainstorming sessions going on. Initially, I had a look at Strangetown Bella's sim description and character file, but didn't find anything out of the ordinary, and neither have other people. We have examined the behavior functions responsible for populating community lots to confirm that the default household is definitely banned and there's no exceptions for any Bellas. But then, a few people mentioned that in early versions of the game, Bella wasn't actually visible, that it was later patched in so that she can act like a normal townie.
It sounded very plausible to me. I mean, sure, it's not in any of the patch notes, but neither is removal of the gossip squiggly lines, and yet that definitely happened.
So if it was a patch, then the answer will be somewhere in the objects.package, because that is the file that all patches are modifying. I spent hours and hours searching around thousands of behavior functions in the game to no avail. But then I had a hunch and thought, hey, why not use the Semantics Resource Finder, which is the tool in SimPE that allows you to search stuff by name. I typed in Bella, hit search, and waited. Let me tell you, I audibly gasped when I saw this. So yes, there was a patch. This function is triggered when the neighborhood is first loaded. It's checking whether the current neighborhood ID is 2, which is Strangetown by default. Then it's checking for the sim number 44, i.e. Bella Goth, checking if the family number is 0, and 0 is the default household. And if yes, then it's moving her to the family number 32,766, which is that one. It's one of the townie households. If that completes successfully, then Bella will spawn on Strangetown community lots.
So the way they did it has some interesting consequences. Bella never got moved in my Strangetown because my Strangetown's ID is 13, not 2. How is this possible? Well, you see, each neighborhood has its own unique ID number, visible here, but sometimes they get a little bit mixed up. Especially if you restore lots of backups and play with different versions of the same hood, like I do. At some point, all of my neighborhoods got renumbered. This can happen to you, and this is actually one of the causes for disappearing graves, and it can be fixed by Hood Checker. But yeah, a different ID means that Bella will never get moved in my Strangetown unless I move her manually. Look at that cat. She wants to be the star of the show, doesn't she? Gabby, why do you want to be in my video?
Okay, so we know that the Pleasant View Bella does not appear on anyone's relationship panel, despite the fact that those relationships exist in the neighborhood files. However, as I've demonstrated, neither being unlinked, having a death token, or being in the default household caused my disappearance from Vidgun's relationship panel. I was still there, no matter what.
So what's different about Bella Goth's relationships? Let's examine them.
If you look at Bella Goth in Pleasant View, she has sim relation records to both her children and Mortimer. And they are all reciprocated. So why don't they appear in-game? The answer is this little tick box. Yes, this known flag determines whether the sims know each other, and therefore whether they should appear on each other's relationship panels.
It is totally possible in this game for two sims to have sim relation records to one another and not actually know each other.
For example, when a new sim is born, their family members from outside of the household are going to get the sim relation records immediately, but they are not going to know each other until they meet. So, both Bella and her children have this flag unchecked for their respective sim relation records, which indicates to the game that they don't know each other anymore, despite being family. That's why they don't appear here.
Now, keep in mind, normally if two sims have already met each other, nothing short of a bug in the game will ever make them forget this relationship. This has been deliberate. This is another proof that Bella Goth's disappearance was not accidental.
The known flag also explains why she appears on Michael Batchelor's relationship panel if you resurrect him. Michael has this box ticked. There's just one problem which I wasn't able to solve during my investigation. Mortimer Goth. You see, he has the known flag checked for his relationship with Bella, and so does she for him, and yet she does not appear on Mortimer's relationship panel.
I have no idea why. I tried to replicate it with Vidgun, recreating that relationship record to a T, right? Including the score and all of the flags and everything. And I still appeared on his relationship panel until I unchecked the known flag. So if anyone knows what's so special about Mortimer, please let me know, because maybe there is something in the relationship's raw data that SimP is not showing, but I can't work it out for the love of me.
To finalize my little experiment, I decided to make myself disappear fully. As in addition to putting me in the default household, I gave myself the death token and unlinked myself. I unchecked the known flag for Vidkun's relationship to me, then I severed the marriage ties, since that's what they done to Bella also. Hang on, I did not think this through, now I don't appear in his family tree at all. Okay, let's have a baby then, since I'm already pregnant. I left myself unlinked because why not keep the female clone of pollination technician whilst I'm at it? I named her Helena because I was about to say so long and good night. Made myself disappear, yet again. Unticked the known flag for little Helena and Vidkun, severed the marriage ties, job done. So now all of my settings are exactly the same as Bella's. The result? I now appear in everyone's memories. I am in their family tree and my picture is not grayed out, meaning I am not considered dead. I do not appear on any community lots, nor can I be called or contacted by any means. I am gone from their relationship panel. If I try to add myself to the household, save the game and reload, I will disappear forever. I have been abducted by aliens. But don't worry, I'll be back. There is someone else I need to marry.